Hello and welcome to the Remedy Fibers podcast, a podcast about knitting and crochet hosted by me, Jillian. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're a returner, thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Happy New Year's! We have made it to 2023 and I hope that you enjoyed my last video where I talked about all the things that I knit and crochet, including 33 projects. It was such a fun video to make and actually was probably one of my longer videos that I actually do because a lot of my videos tend to be shorter. But we are in rainy season here in California. I live here with my husband and dog Benny, and I think I finally have found the perfect podcasting spot, even if it's battling the rain, the cloudy skies. I have a huge window here. I just got this plant not too long ago. It was donated to me by a friend. Miss you, Christine. But today we're gonna get started with my 2023 knitting and crochet goals. I did have goals that I wrote 6 months ago that I will catch you up as to whether I met them or not, as well as my stash, my no stash update. As you know, I want to keep a minimal stash. I was able to bust this stash down to 0, but I do have some skeins and I want to show you what they are and what I want to make with them. I also have some works in progress. They're really fun. I'm really addicted to them, and we are finally getting a move on some of the ones that have been stalled for a little bit. So let's get started. So I normally don't use this book. This is something that I have put my knitting goals. It has become my craft notebook and it kind of just sat for a while, and I decided to open it maybe a week ago, and I noticed that on the first page I have my knitting goals and I wrote July 25th, 2022. So this was about 6 months ago, and I had 6 goals with 3 overarching yearly goals. And so the first goal is to make a cardigan, which I did. It's the Felix cardigan. This is not it. This was actually a gift to me from my mom. But I made the Felix cardigan, and so I'm really happy about that. But the second goal that I had was to make a colorwork sweater, but fitted. I don't really want a loose one. I did not do that. And actually, now that I think about it, I don't think that's something that I want to do for the future. The third goal that I had was to make a hat. I actually made 3 hats. 1 for me, 2 for Bright. The fourth goal was an everyday scarf, which I did not do, and the reason why I didn't do that was because I already have an everyday scarf. Let me show it to you. So this is the Hipster Shawl by Joji Locatelli. I made this, I think, back in 2017 or 2018. It is Cashmere, and I got the yarn in New Jersey, and I just really like it. Even though it's not an everyday color, I don't think that blue is an everyday color. I really love this shawl. It's so fun. It was so complicated at the time when I made it. It was really growing in my skill set, especially with that curve and the design element. But this one I wear every day, even if it doesn't match my outfit. So I didn't really need an everyday scarf. The reason why I listed an everyday scarf was because I wanted something like this, but in more of a neutral color. So like a gray or a black. But I just didn't get around to it, and I didn't prioritize that. So that's okay with me. I'll still be wearing this one. So the fifth goal that I have was to make socks. One of the reasons why I wanted to increase my sock creations was because I felt like I knit socks so slowly. But the real reason was I just procrastinated. I lost interest, and then I just let them sit for months. So this year I think I improved on that skill, but I definitely want to see more socks in the future for myself because they're just so soft and comfortable. And the last goal that I had was to knit my husband a cardigan. The reason why I didn't continue with this goal was because he couldn't decide on whether he wanted a pullover or a cardigan, or what color or what style, and if I'm going to make it, it's going to be something that he's actually going to wear. So maybe that might be in the works for this year. And then some overarching goals. These were not specific, but just kind of in general goals, was to grow my channel to 500 subscribers. So we did that. We are at 579 subscribers. So if you're not subscribed, definitely hit that subscribe button. And I really do enjoy when you comment, when you interact. It makes me feel like we are here socializing and chatting about all the yarny goodness. So the next goal that I had was to consistently podcast weekly. And I think for the most part I did that. There were some weeks either I was sick or I was on vacation that I didn't do that. But I'm really proud of myself because in the start of 2022, I was like, let's give it a try. I don't know if I'm going to continue with this. And I did. It was really fun to continue as well. So my last overarching goal was to create how-to videos. And when I looked at this, I said I actually didn't do that. But I did put 2 check marks next to it because I kind of did. The first video that I did was 3 beginner tips to sock knitting. And even though that's not a how-to video, I feel like that's a good intro guide if you are thinking about knitting socks but you're not sure where to get started. And then the next one that I did was 5 tips for beginner garment knitting. And that one also isn't a how-to video, but I think that getting into garment knitting can be a little bit scary and daunting, as well as measuring our bodies, which we probably don't normally do. We just go into stores and try different sizes on. So I feel like that kind of counts. So let's jump into my 2023 goals. And I wrote these yesterday or 2 days ago. So the first goal that I have is to knit and crochet summer tops. So I wanted to be more specific and I wanted to focus more on crochet, just because I feel like I haven't really used crochet patterns. I watched video tutorials in the past. I did my first pattern at the end of last year, and I just want to learn and practice reading crochet patterns more specifically for summer tops. My second goal is to use more plant-based fibers, and so last year I kind of started to explore this and other plant-based dyers. And the reason why I wanted to do that was because I would make wool summer tops I wouldn't be able to wear in the heat, and then it wouldn't really make sense to wear when it gets colder. So that's something that I want to do. Right now I am obsessed with Terrapin fibers, but I know that there are other plant-based fiber dyers, and that's something that I want to look into more. So if you know any, definitely comment below on who your favorite plant-based dyer is. My third goal is to make a summer cardigan and a winter cardigan. I feel like they're more easier to wear throughout the seasons. So I want a thicker one for the colder weather and a lighter one for when it's that spring, early summer weather where you could just kind of throw it on really quickly. And so that's something that I want to do just because I just really enjoyed my last cardigan that I made. My fourth is to keep stash minimal and use what I have. So it's been really hard to not buy advents and all of the sales that are happening, Black Friday, holidays, New Year's. I keep getting lots of emails. Maybe I should unsubscribe because the email marketing is really getting to me. And so what I've been doing is putting a whole bunch of yarn in my shopping cart, and then after a while I'm like, okay, keep the stash minimal, and then I just X out so I'm not buying yarn. And it's been a little bit hard because it's been really fun to kind of see what the new colors are, see what the trends, see what other podcasters are making. So I'm just going to try to have some more restraint because I want to use up what I have. From last year and keeping a minimal stash, I noticed that it takes about 1 to 2 months to complete one project. So if I'm buying a lot of yarn, it's going to take me months to complete anything from it. So I just want to keep that in mind, to keep a realistic mindset as to what I'm able to produce, as well as have fun doing it and not making it feel like I have to do that. I also want to grow the channel to 1,000 subscribers. That has been a long-term goal of mine. And I actually started podcasting, I want to say in 2016 when I was still in... No, I had already graduated college. I think I had just graduated college a year after that, and I hid a lot of those videos because they're very embarrassing, but eventually I would like to continue to grow the channel and make content that is fun, relaxing, as well as engaging. I kind of have 2 goals left, but one I didn't finish writing. So my second to last goal is to stay creative and true to myself. So I've been watching a lot of podcasters, and I've noticed that some people are kind of getting to that point in the podcasting journey, which happened to me maybe back in 2018, 2019, where it's like you feel like you have to constantly produce, you feel like you have to keep up with the trends and knit things and crochet things really fast so that you can produce content for the channel. Or you're watching things on social media where you're like, how are they doing all of this? And I'm still working on that one sock that is taking me 5 months to make. And so I feel like it's really hard to be a podcaster when you compare yourself to others. So my goal is to stay creative and create things that I want to create, not because what's trendy or what's in. Choose yarns for what I like, the colors that I enjoy, as well as just staying true to myself, not trying to judge myself or be critical of myself or what I'm making or how long it takes to make, and really just enjoy it, because that's why we started it and that's why we watch podcasters to kind of knit with us and crochet with us. And so that's something that I want to remind myself always, as well as remind you all as well, that it's not always producing and fast making. It's going back to that mentality of slow making and enjoying the process more so than the end product. And then the last one, I didn't finish writing it. It says travel to. So I think the reason why I stopped on that one is because of course I want to visit more California yarn shops. But I also want to do an international trip, and I know that I did a video going to Spain, but I want more travel in 2023. So I'm hoping that I can either travel locally or travel internationally to see other yarn shops and what they are having. And I actually got an email from one of my local yarn shops saying that it's been really hard with the pandemic and the shop being closed, and then people resorting to online shopping, and it really hitting the stores hard. And they said even if you make a $20 purchase, a $50 purchase, that it's still really helpful for small businesses because it's moving the inventory. And I felt a little bit guilty, even though I love to support my local yarn shops, because I do love Amazon yarn shopping and online yarn shopping. And I feel like there's pros and cons, because due to online shopping, we're able to buy directly from dyers that may never get a chance to be in a local yarn shop, or just is a smaller business and they prefer it that way. But I do want to invest in local yarn shops and small businesses, because I would hate for them to go extinct or just go online or just be limited, because one of the beauties of local yarn shops is being able to feel the yarn and see the colors in person and get inspired when talking to the shop owners and employees. So something to think about as you purchase yarn in the upcoming year, on how local yarn shops are really being impacted by online shopping, Amazon, as well as platforms that prevent shoppers from actually going in stores in person. So that's all I have for my goals for this year. I probably will revisit this again in 6 months, or maybe closer to the end of 2023. It's going to stay shut and I'm not going to look at it. Maybe I'll review it from time to time so I can see and remind myself what I wanted. But I really did enjoy having the date marked for my original goals, just to see how far I have actually come along. So let's talk about my stash. So this is my stash. These are the only skeins that I am actively not using. And I know that I've talked about this a lot, but I'm gonna assume that you haven't seen this or heard about me talk about this. And if you have, you can fast forward. But this is all that I have. I have 4 projects worth of yarn left. And a lot of this yarn has been with me. Actually, I can tell you how long I've had the yarn, so you have more or less a sense of how long it's taking me to actually get through my projects. So the first one is Terrapin Fiber Arts, and this was a sale that she was having, a summer market sale. And I originally wanted to make the Ranunculus with this, and TBD, because this is a summer yarn and I did say I wanted to crochet more summer projects. So this might even turn into a crochet project. But one thing that I'm not going to do is dictate what the yarn is going to be before working on it. And I'll tell you that when I get to this yarn. But I love the purples, I love the vibrancy, and I have 2 skeins of this. So it's definitely going to be a summer yarn, because I want to say this is a Tencel type of yarn. It doesn't have a label on it. I also got another Terrapin. This one is 100% cotton, and it actually does have a tag on this. And this one is Sage colorway, and I really like the green. So because this is 100% Pima cotton, it is going to be a summer project, most likely crochet again. And both of these yarns I received, I want to say in September or early October, around that time frame. So it's been a bit, but I did want to take a pause on crafting with it because it was getting chillier and I wasn't going to need this right now in this season. Next up, this yarn was purchased in November for my birthday, and this is Art Yarns Merino Cloud, 80% merino and 20% cashmere. And so I've been a little bit disappointed in trying to figure out what I wanted to make with this. Originally I wanted to make a tee with it, but I said this is wool and cashmere. It makes more sense if I make something that's long sleeve, especially that I have yardage to do that. I was looking on Ravelry for figuring weight projects, and I just wasn't getting inspired. It just wasn't there for me for what I was looking for. So I decided to finally look up this yarn to see pattern ideas. In Ravelry, you can search up what yarn you have, the name of it, and see what other people have created with it and get some inspiration that way. When I searched up this yarn, first of all, it's not fingering weight. It is sport weight. And even in the description of the yarn, it says that it can even serve as a DK weight as well, depending on the needle size. I don't know, it's a fabulous versatile yarn. So when I started looking up sport weight patterns, ooh, I got so excited and inspired, and I even found a cardigan. So oftentimes when I'm in a local yarn shop and I'm looking in my library to see what is inspiring and what yarn matches it, I'm just constantly trying to figure out what weight yarn is this pattern. So I decided to create bundles in Ravelry. It's just a organizational tab that you can create, and I created Aran, DK, Sport, Summer Tops, and Worsted bundles. And so every time that I favorite a project that I potentially want to make, I'm organizing it in these tabs, because if I'm going to a store, I get really overwhelmed, and I know a lot of you do too. And let's say I see worsted yarn. I say, oh, I love this worsted weight yarn. Let me go to my worsted bundle and see which one of these projects will actually make sense. So I have 3 options right now, and I'm just gonna let those sit until I either am buying yarn or get inspired. But for this one, I had a sport category, and I found 2 that I really enjoyed. One was a Anchors cardigan, and the other one was a Beaufort 5 cardigan. So they both are sport weight. Obviously I'll have to gauge swatch, but I'm thinking that one of these will be in my feature. And last but not least, this is the yarn that I purchased in Spain. It's mystery yarn. It's definitely feeling cotton, so this would be a summer fiber. And I'm not sure of the weight, but maybe it might be DK, maybe it might be heavy fingering. I'm gonna have to gauge swatch this one to see and wing it, because I'm not quite sure. But the great thing about crochet is if I do something a little bit more boxy or with positive ease, it'll still look cute. It'll look really good. So I have 4 projects worth of yarn. Originally I had these stashed in one of my drawers, but I decided that I need to see them so that I know before you buy yarn, don't forget you got these cuties waiting to be crafted up, knit or crocheted. And I think that's one issue. If you have your stash hidden away, it's like, oh, well, I need this yarn, I don't have anything to work on. No, actually you do. So I'm going to try not to buy any yarn. I'm going to try to work from stash, and that is a goal of mine. And then if you watch Nitty Natty, she talks about going to 0 stash, but also just keeping in mind a minimal stash, so that you don't get to the point where you're back to square one and you are overbuying and feeling overwhelmed. So that's a goal that I have, and if you are on your no stash, no buy journey, let me know on how that's going for you. So next up we have works in progress, and I have finally made progress on my Trilo tee by Sachiko Burgin. So I want to say for the past month I've been showing you my progress here. And this is made with Isager yarn. It is lace weight, and it is a bottom-up sweater. And I haven't made a bottom-up sweater in a really long time. So when it came to knitting the sleeves, I had to knit them separately. And first they said use DPNs. And I said, oh, I don't have DPNs. Let me try magic glue. That didn't work. So then I bought DPNs, which I have to return because I hate them. They're so cute. They're so beautiful. There's nothing wrong with the needles. But I just personally do not enjoy DPNs. So I got really defeated, and I said the DPNs are not working, the magic loop is not working. I've never been a fan of either method, and you know that with my socks I use 9-inch circulars. So after sitting on it for some time and it just kind of being abandoned, I looked up if there are 9-inch circulars for sleeves, and there are. Look what I got in the mail. So these are US 8 9-inch circulars, and this is how I knit the sleeves for this. And I said, I know that I've done a bottom-up sweater with the weekender and I didn't have to use 9-inch circulars, but I think it's because I used a worsted weight yarn, and so when I cast on the stitches, it was easier to use a 16-inch circular needle. So I had to use these bad boys, and look, I finished my first sleeve. Right now it's just on a extra needle because eventually I'm going to join this to this. Bottom-up sweaters are, I forgot, they interesting. That's all I gotta say. So I need to cast on my second sleeve, and then we're gonna see how all this works up. I don't know how we're gonna construct this, but I feel like bottom-up sweaters are kind of mysterious and somehow they all come together. But I'm assuming I'm gonna join everything on one needle and then work the chest and neck portion after. So I'm almost done. It's just been a little bit abandoned and a little bit delayed because your girl don't like double point needles or magic loop. So next up we have my other yarn that I purchased from Spain. This is La Madrilana. I made the fall pullover sweater by Juanita Juncker closer to the end of last year in red, and I wanted one in pink. And I used the same size, I used the same crochet hook, and I think that was a mistake because this one might be more true to gauge than the other yarn that I used. And so when I tried it on, it was really tight. And I had got, I think, up to here with the crochet project, and something was just telling me it's too tight. The yarn is not, it's not giving, it's just kind of, the pattern didn't want to go with the yarn. So I finally searched up pattern ideas in Ravelry for this yarn and to see what other people created with using this yarn. But I decided to cast on, finally, a ranunculus, and I know that I wanted to make this with other yarn, but the way that this ranunculus looked in this color and in this yarn, it spoke to me. It said, yes, this is what you will be. So note this on the fall pullover sweater. I'm still gonna make more of those in the future, but it just wasn't working collaboratively with this type of yarn. And also the fall pullover sweater is more like a airy garment, and this one is wool, so I need to just be more conscious of matching the wool with the appropriate projects. So this is how it's looking. I am in the part where I'm going to start the yoke because I was doing short rows, German short rows, but this is my first time doing a provisional cast on with a crochet hook, and wow, that was really fun. I really enjoyed the process of that, as well as I thought all the stitches were going to unravel and they didn't. So I'm really proud and excited to continue working on this. I do want to give a special shout out to a YouTuber called Sun Dragon Tips and Tricks. She has tutorials to help ease the process of the pattern, especially I never did a provisional cast on. She shows how to do that. I never did German short rows the way that the designer labeled them out, so I was a little bit confused about that, but she shows you step by step on how to do that. Obviously it is a paid for pattern, so she's not going to get into specifics, but just being a visual learner, it was really nice to have that visual demonstration to help speed along the process of creating this. So if you want to create the ranunculus, or you have been on the fence of trying short rows, that is a great tutorial to watch, and she has several of them just for the ranunculus. So that is all that I have for this week. Today Bright had his game, so I'm repping his team's shirts, as well as just enjoying the rainy day. Me and Benny got up early and we were able to take a long morning walk. I want to say I came back 3 or 4 days ago from North Carolina visiting my family. It was really nice to see my mom and my sisters. We got to go to a Chinese lantern festival, which they really enjoyed, as well as going shopping and just going around spending time with them. They have gotten so big, and if you have been watching the podcast from early on, you would see they're pretty much almost my height. I'm still the tallest. Traveling wasn't so bad. I traveled right after the holiday rush. So when I first got to the airport, I want to say it was December 30th, the security checkpoint was crazy. It was the longest that I've ever seen it, and the airport that I go to is a really small airport. It was insane. But good thing I beat the holiday rush because I didn't have any delays going there. I did have a 30-minute delay coming back, and I think that was weather related, but good thing I was able to make my connecting flight. And everything else, I arrived on time. I got to see my baby boy Ben. He's such a cutie pie and glued to me. He's following me everywhere like, where have you been, woman? So that's all that I have for this week. I would really love to know what your knitting or crochet goals or resolutions are for this year. Comment down below and we can kind of try to hold each other accountable in meeting them, as well as maybe having a challenge if most of us have a similar goal. But thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope that you and your family are happy, healthy, and safe. Happy New Year, and I will see you next week. Take care.